I know what you're thinking. How do people even become an airline pilot? How much does it cost? What does it take to get into it? Well, in this video, we're gonna talk about all those things. In fact, in this video, we'll cover how much flight training costs, different ways to get flight training, and how others tend to pay for it in the first place. Ultimately, what I want for you by the end of this video is to feel informed and confident enough to make a decision about your career. Firstly, what you should know is the most basic steps it takes to get to the airlines. Most flight schools break your training into two sections. Their first part is your training. It'll take about 7 to 10 months as you work on your 6 certificates before you can get to the airlines. The second part is working as a low hours pilot or just as a CFI so that you can build up to 1,500 hours to be eligible to work at the airlines. That being said, in an accelerated program like at Thrust Flight, it'll only take about 2 years or less to get to the airlines working as a pilot. If you think about it, that's half the amount of time you would normally spend going to a university. Now let's talk about cost. What I want you to know is that there are about 4 different ways to receive flight training. You can do a Part 61 school, 141 school, accelerated 141 school, and of course you can still go to a 4-year university. Today, we're gonna primarily talk about accelerated programs at Part 141 schools. When you compare all these options and you break down all the costs, either way is gonna come out to about $90,000 or more to become an airline pilot. So if you're serious about becoming a pilot, typically the conclusion is to join a Part 141 school with an accelerated program so you can get to working as fast as possible. Since we're expecting to spend so much money regardless of how we get our flight training, to me, it makes sense just to go somewhere with a structured curriculum that's gonna get you to the airlines faster. When looking up tuition costs for flight schools, be aware that there are lots of additional costs that may not be included in that tuition. Some of these things may include headset, knee board, iPad, flight computer, pilot bag, fuel tester, written exam, FAA practical exam, flight instructor time, aircraft rentals. All these things can add up to easily over $2,500. But Thrust Flight does include that in their tuition. So when you're looking up flight schools, ask that question when you're talking to an admissions advisor. Now that we're all on the same page about cost, let's talk about the part that really puts things into perspective: income. This is what's really gonna decide what the return on investment looks like for you. Now, when talking about income, there's a few things to understand. Number one, do know that pilots are paid hourly, right? So your pay month to month can vary a lot based on how much you decide to fly or how many flight hours are available for you to fly. Ultimately, your yearly salary will depend on a few things, including the type of plane you fly, how many hours you fly, and your seniority number. Like anywhere else, you'll have to move up the ladder. You'll start off as a first officer, and then you'll work your way up to being a captain. This can often happen very quickly and does come with a pay bump. Not only that, you'll normally start at a regional airline before you get to a major airline. After your training is complete and you're moving on to the airlines, typically a regional airline, you can easily start off making $90,000 or more. I pulled some data from thrustflight.com, which was originally pulled from some of the regional airline websites. Here's that data. These are some of the salaries that you could be making starting off as a first officer for some of the regional airlines. Now, know that we do have some links to this data down in the description below so that you can do some of the research yourself and find out more details for yourself. Now, if I'm speaking personally, if I'm looking at a 4-year college and I'm looking at the option of becoming a pilot, to me, it's kind of a no-brainer if I'm worried about my return on investment. Is it worth going into debt to become an airline pilot? My answer is yes, but only you can decide that. It's gonna take a little bit of hard work and a little bit of time, but when you get to the airlines, you're gonna make your return on your investment. So don't just take my word for it. Check out our YouTube channel. We have plenty of videos with CFIs, students, and pilots alike. That way, you can do your own research and decide what's best for you.